Did you know there are mountains in America where a single mistake means certain death? Not might mean, means. Welcome to a list of American mountains that give no second chances. Every mountain on this list is unforgiving. One wrong step, one loose handhold, one moment of inattention, and you fall hundreds or thousands of feet with no possibility of survival. There is a mountain on this list with a 91% fatality to accident ratio, meaning if something goes wrong, you are almost certainly going to die. Number 3 experienced 5 deaths in just 6 weeks during the summer of 2017, including a couple who fell 200 feet after a rock gave way beneath them. The second mountain on this list killed 11 climbers in a single avalanche that struck while they were resting, burying them alive under tons of ice where their bodies remain entombed to this day. And the final peak sits just 50 miles from a major city, yet when storms roll in from the Pacific Ocean, they move so fast that climbers who summit in clear skies can be dead from hypothermia within hours. These mountains do not care about your experience. They do not care about your preparation. They do not offer warnings before they kill you, and they absolutely do not give second chances. But let's start with number 1, a Colorado peak that has the most terrifying statistic in American mountaineering. A mountain where if you make a mistake, there is a 91% chance you will not survive it. Mountain 1, Capitol Peak in western Colorado. Capitol Peak rises from the Elk Mountains in western Colorado, reaching 14,137 feet. It is not the tallest 14er, not even in the top 10, but it has the most terrifying statistic in American mountaineering. Between 1947 and 2018, it had a 91% fatality to accident ratio. If something goes wrong, there is a 91% chance you die. K2 has a 25% fatality rate. Capitol kills at 4 times that rate. Summer 2017 proved how unforgiving this mountain is. Between July 15 and August 26, 5 people died in 5 incidents, 1 death every 10 days. On July 15, Jake Lord, 25, grabbed a boulder that came loose. It crushed him and he fell 328 feet. He died instantly. On August 6, Jeremy Schull, 35, experienced with a 2-month-old son, fell 200 feet approaching the knife edge. His body landed in a crevasse. On August 20, Ryan Marcil, 26, and Carlin Brightwell, 27, an Aspen couple recently moved in together, were seen near the summit. No one saw them descend. On August 22, a helicopter spotted their bodies 200 feet below. Campers heard rock fall and a minute-long scream. 4 days later, a 21-year-old on his first 14er, wearing skateboard shoes, argued with his partner about the descent. He tried shortcutting down the north face, fell 600 to 700 feet, and died in the same spot as Ryan and Carlin. The knife edge makes Capitol unforgiving, a 150-foot ridge, in places only feet wide, with 2,000-foot drops both sides. A slip means death. The rock is loose, holds break off. Rated Class 3 to Class 4, many experienced climbers rope up because one mistake is fatal. K2 is another danger, a false summit. Climbers reach it thinking they are done. Others shortcut from K2 to knife edge instead of descending to the saddle. That crosses extremely loose rock. Jake Lord died there. The north face is a death trap, steep, unstable, loose rock. Descending is nearly impossible. Ryan, Carlin, and the 21-year-old all died there. Since 2003, at least 9 have died. The mountain does not forgive. When something goes wrong, you fall. And when you fall, you die. From Colorado, we move to Washington, where 11 climbers were buried alive in a single avalanche. Mountain number 2, Mount Rainier, Washington. Mount Rainier rises from the Cascade Range in Washington, reaching 14,411 feet. It is the most glaciated peak in the lower 48, covered by over 35 square miles of ice. Since 1897, more than 400 have died. The mountain is unforgiving for one reason. When glaciers move, they give no warning. On June 21, 1981, Mount Rainier experienced the deadliest climbing accident in American history. 29 people left Camp Muir at 3:50 a.m., 23 novice climbers, 6 professional guides. By 5:30 a.m., they reached Ingraham Flats at 11,200 feet. 3 were too tired and descended. The remaining 25 rested while 3 guides scouted ahead. Senior guide John Day determined conditions unsafe and decided to turn everyone around. At 5:45 a.m., as guides descended toward the waiting climbers, they heard a crack. A section of Ingraham Glacier, 300 feet wide, fractured and fell 800 feet. Ice swept across Ingraham Flats, directly over where climbers were resting. 11 were swept into a crevasse and buried under tons of ice. Survivors searched immediately, finding eyeglasses and personal effects, but no bodies. Weather deteriorated. A massive search operation launched. After 40 hours, it was called off. Bodies could not be recovered. They remain entombed today. What makes 1981 devastating is that climbers did everything right. Professional guides followed instructions, resting in a safe zone. The decision to turn around had been made. They were waiting to descend. The mountain killed them anyway. No warning. The avalanche happened during rest on stable ground. No seismic activity, no visible cracks, no indication. The ice simply fractured and fell. In 2014, 6 climbers attempted Liberty Ridge. Last contact May 28 from 12,800 feet. On May 31, search teams spotted gear across Carbon Glacier at 9,500 feet. They had fallen over 3,300 feet. No one survived. What caused it? Unclear. Weather deteriorated overnight. An avalanche may have swept camp. A serac may have collapsed. Bodies were not recovered. The debris field sat beneath unstable cliffs. Liberty Ridge accounts for 2% of attempts, but 25% of deaths. The 6 who died were experienced. Skill was not enough. Mount Rainier does not care about experience or preparation. When glaciers move, when seracs collapse, when avalanches release, there's no time to react and nowhere to run. The mountain gives no second chances. From Washington, we move to Alaska, where extreme cold and altitude create conditions so severe that rescue is often impossible. Mountain number 3, Denali, Alaska. Denali rises from the Alaska Range, reaching 20,310 feet, the highest in North America. What makes it unforgiving is its latitude. At 63 degrees north, closer to the Arctic than any major mountain, it creates weather found nowhere outside Antarctica. Since 1903, more than 129 have died. What makes those deaths tragic is how often rescue is impossible. When things go wrong, you are alone. Temperatures are extreme. Between 1950 and 1969, minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit was recorded at 15,000 feet. Near the summit, averages range from minus 30 to minus 70. In 2003, a wind chill of minus 118 was measured at 19,000 feet. Exposed skin freezes in under 2 minutes. Breathing becomes painful. Equipment snaps. Wind is equally severe. Sustained 100-mile-per-hour winds are common. Gusts exceeding 150 have been recorded. During storms, winds may reach 300. The mountain generates its own weather, pinning climbers in tents for days as winds collapse shelters. In 1992, 11 died in separate incidents, many from falls and exposure. Falls account for 45% of deaths. Many occurred during descent, when exhaustion, altitude, and weather combine. Climbers who survive falls often die from injuries in sub-zero temperatures waiting for rescue that never comes. At extreme altitudes, helicopter rescue is impossible. Air too thin, weather too severe. If injured above certain camps, you are alone. In May 2024, a solo climber from Japan fell along the traverse between 17,200-foot camp and the Denali Pass. His satellite device stopped May 16. Rangers found his body at 17,000 feet. He fell 1,200 feet. Altitude sickness is another killer. Denali's latitude means effective altitude is higher. At 20,000 feet, climbers experience conditions similar to 23,000 feet in the Himalayas, increasing risk of pulmonary and cerebral edema, both fatal if not treated. Every season, climbers are evacuated suffering severe altitude illness. Some do not survive. What makes Denali give no second chances is cold, altitude, and remoteness. If you make a mistake, if you fall, if you get altitude sickness, rescue may not be possible. Weather may be too severe, altitude too high. You may be too far from help. And in temperatures that freeze skin in minutes, you do not have time to wait. From Alaska, we move to Colorado, where a peak kills climbers on a 3-foot ledge with a 200-foot drop and no protection. Mountain 4, Longs Peak, Colorado. Longs Peak rises from Rocky Mountain National Park, reaching 14,259 feet. Since 1884, more than 70 have died attempting it. What makes it give no second chances is the Narrows. This ledge traverses the south face, never less than 3 feet wide, but both sides drop steeply. To the right is a 200-foot fall onto rock. No railing, no rope, no protection. When wet or icy, it is nearly impossible to cross safely. Climbers attempt it anyway. In October 2016, a 61-year-old from Greeley slipped on ice crossing the Narrows. He fell 150 feet and died. A helicopter recovered his body that afternoon. The Narrows is where most fatal accidents occur. The ledge is wide enough under dry conditions, but there is no margin for error. One slip, one moment of inattention, one loose rock, and you fall. And when you fall from the Narrows, you do not survive. Weather is another factor. Afternoon thunderstorms bring lightning. In July 2018, a 28-year-old was struck while descending and killed instantly. Others in his group were knocked down by the electrical charge, but survived. Rangers advise starting by 3 a.m. to summit by noon before storms. Most ignore this, start late, underestimate time, and find themselves exposed when weather moves in. Too late to descend safely. The route beyond Boulderfield has 4 sections: ledges, trough, narrows, and homestretch, each more dangerous. The homestretch is a steep granite slab scrambled on all 4s. Dry, it is manageable. Wet or icy, extremely dangerous. Climbers who lose footing slide hundreds of feet. Most do not survive. What makes Longs Peak unforgiving is that it sits in a national park with easy access and 6 miles of maintained trail. From a distance, it looks manageable. These factors encourage unprepared attempts. People arrive in sneakers, without gear, no scrambling experience or altitude training. When they reach the Narrows and realize what they must cross, it is too late. Turning back means admitting failure after hours of hiking. So they continue, and some slip. From Colorado, we move to Oregon, where a volcano visible from a major city kills climbers because weather moves faster than anyone can descend. Mountain number 5, Mount Hood, Oregon. Mount Hood rises from the Cascade Range in Oregon, reaching 11,250 feet. Since records began, more than 130 have died, with 46 deaths since 2002. What makes it give no second chances is how fast weather changes. Storms roll in from the Pacific with almost no warning. Climbers who summit in clear skies can be trapped in whiteout blizzards within minutes. On May 16, 1986, students and faculty from Oregon Episcopal School were descending when a severe storm moved in near Crater Rock. They had summited under clear conditions. By afternoon, temperatures dropped and visibility went to 0. The group became disoriented and separated. When rescue teams arrived the next day, they found 9 bodies scattered across upper slopes. 7 students and 2 adults died from hypothermia and falls. It remains one of the deadliest U.S. climbing accidents. The most dangerous sections are the Hogsback, a steep snow ridge, and the Pearly Gates, a narrow chute between rocks. Both are steep and exposed. When weather moves in, climbers have no shelter and no safe way down. In December 2006, 3 experienced climbers went missing during winter. One was found dead in a snow cave he dug trying to survive. The other 2 were never recovered. What makes Mount Hood unforgiving is the speed storms develop. Pacific weather systems move from offshore to summit in under an hour. Climbers check forecasts, see clear conditions, and start their climb. By the time they reach Upper Mountain, the forecast has changed. The storm has accelerated. They are trapped. Most parties start around midnight, aiming to summit by dawn and descend before sun warms snow and increases rockfall. But if a storm moves in during that window, climbers are caught on Upper Mountain in dark, with temperatures plunging and winds rising. Descending is nearly impossible. In 2024, a climber fell several hundred feet in pearly gates and did not survive. Weather had deteriorated rapidly, lost footing on ice, and fell. Mount Hood does not give warnings, it does not wait. When Pacific weather systems move in, they move fast. And if you are on the mountain, you have no second chance. From Oregon, we reach the end of this list, but the lesson remains the same. These mountains represent some of the most unforgiving peaks in the United States, but they share a common truth. They do not give second chances. One mistake on Capitol Peak's knife edge means a fatal fall. One moment of rest on Mount Rainier's Ingraham Flats can end with burial under tons of ice. One slip on Long's Peak's Narrows means a 200-foot drop onto rock. One storm on Mount Hood can trap you on the Upper Mountain with no way down. And on Denali, one fall or one case of altitude sickness can leave you stranded in conditions so extreme that rescue is impossible. What makes these mountains particularly deadly is that experience does not protect you. Professional guides died on Mount Rainier in 1981 while doing everything right. Experienced mountaineers died on Capitol Peak in 2017. Skilled climbers died on Denali and Liberty Ridge. The mountains do not care about your resume. They do not care how many peaks you have summited or how prepared you think you are. When glaciers move, they move. When rock breaks, it breaks. When weather systems accelerate, they accelerate. And when any of those things happen, there is no time to react and nowhere to hide. The lesson is not that these mountains should never be climbed. Thousands of people summit them successfully every year. The lesson is that these mountains demand absolute respect. They demand perfect conditions, perfect preparation, and perfect execution. And even then, they can still kill you. If you're planning to attempt any of these peaks, understand what you're walking into. These are not mountains that forgive mistakes. They are not mountains that offer warnings. They are not mountains that give you a chance to correct an error. One wrong step, one moment of inattention, one piece of bad luck, and it is over. So which of these mountains would you never attempt? Or have you climbed one and survived to tell the story? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more content on America's most dangerous peaks, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.